Hey everyone, I wanted to do a quick little book review of The Gothic Tales of Sheridan Le Fanu, published by the British Library in 2020. I've just finished this and I picked it up recently from my local Barnes & Noble. I had a gift card, couldn't find anything to buy, and stumbled across this for $25, and I'm really glad I did. It's well worth the price. The book itself, right, the cover is really cool. It's got this iridescent foil stamped cover depicting the Irish countryside and the castles and manors described in the tales. So it's really cool looking. The paper is super thick. Sometimes it felt like I was going through cardstock, which could be annoying sometimes, but still really high quality paper. And I love this forest green end papers that really fit in with the Irish landscape. That's the setting of these stories. If you've read anything about the reception of Le Fanu's work, you'll hear about how M.R. James was a fan of his, along with Bram Stoker, who was influenced by Fanu's vampire novel Carmilla, and it's easy to see why both of the writers admired him. Fanu is really great at describing setting and the psychological state of his characters and exploring how these two things interact with one another. He's also frequently compared with Poe, Lovecraft, and William Hope Hodgson, but I feel like he's actually a lot easier to read than those authors. His prose is very direct, concise, and his vocabulary is fairly simple. So we don't get a lot of convoluted sentences, and just generally I found him a lot easier to read than those authors, as much as I love them as well. One of the best things about this collection is I wasn't familiar with any of the 8 stories in them. If you've ever picked up a Gothic or horror anthology of Edgar Allan Poe-like tales, you'll probably find something from Fanu in there. But as far as I know, these stories aren't usually included in those, so it's nice that this isn't just a repackaging of readily available tales. So it includes 8 tales in total, and I'm going to butcher a lot of these names, but it includes The Fortunes of Sir Robert Ardoch, Passages in the Secret History of an Irish Countess, a chapter in the history of a Tyrone family, Shulkin the Painter, Oltor de Lacy, A Legend of Capricolin, Squire Toby's Will, Stories of Loch Gwir, and Madame Crowell's Ghosts. And I was far more impressed by the 4 latter stories. The earlier ones are good, but I felt like in the last 4, Fanu really excels in building the atmosphere and depicting the setting. And I was most impressed by his story, Stories of Loch Gwir, which explores Irish supernatural folklore far more than the other tales, and which I was fascinated by. The first 4 stories are still decent, but they kind of bleed into one another, so it feels like you're rereading the same tale over, just with some slightly different characters. I still enjoyed them, but not nearly as much as the last 4. And so overall, this book is a great addition to the library of anyone interested in Gothic horror or even Irish literature in general. It's really well made and looks great, and I'll certainly be on the lookout for more offerings of this type from the British Library. Thanks for watching.